Arganissima, New York. Your exotic skin, hair, and beauty source, and your one-stop shop for all your natural and organic skin and hair care, featuring authentic organic Moroccan oil and prickly pear seed oil and much more. Bringing you only the best, straight from the source and proudly produced in the USA. So what are you waiting for? Shop today at www.arganissima.com. Arganissima, New York. Your beauty is our...
Folks, welcome back to the iHealth channel, iHealth Radio with your host, Hurricane H. New day, new show, new topic. Not a new guest this time. We have a comeback, and it was a promise that we actually held to date. About a month ago, we had our guest, and she did terrific, a job, share with us some real value on some of the things that we are exposed to on a day-to-day basis, and the EMFs and all the frequencies that we get, on our computers and phone and things, and gave us a great knowledge there as to what to do. And today, our promise was to come back and discuss something different, but it's also something that affects our health. Now, she's a naturopath doctor, and that's really where this is driving. We want nature. We want more stuff that's healthier for us and not lethal, I would say, or dangerous. And today we're going to talk about a topic that is difficult, well, it's not difficult, but it's something that we are exposed to daily, and it could be dangerous, and we might not even know about it. So the topic is heavy metals. And Dr. Diane Drake is going to be with us today, and she's going to cover that element with us and the difference. What are the different types and where they're present? Are they good? Are they bad? What's good? What's bad? We're basically going to talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, everything. So, Doctor, how are you? Welcome back to the show.
Yes, thank you, Hurricane, so much for having me back. I'm excited to do this topic with you guys because a lot of people, they hear, yeah, I've heard heavy metals are bad, but they maybe don't really understand where are they coming from? What are the symptoms? How do we get them out if we figure out that we have been exposed to it? So that's kind of what I'm going to go through today. So metals are naturally in the crust of the earth, okay? So our bodies are used to binding and eliminating them since we've been here, since humans have been here. But then humans also started mining metals and making things out of them. And we have now contaminated the earth with heavy metals because those things eventually rust. If you think about, I was just in Mexico, and everywhere there's barbed wire and it's rusting, and there's signs and they're rusting, and there's cars on lots and it's rusting. Think about all of the metal over time that's just rusted back into the environment. Even those huge barge ships that come over from China, if you're ever on the coast and you see these coming in, you can see the rust stains coming off the sides of the ship. I mean, we are just rusting everywhere. And then what happens? It gets, evaporates into the rain, comes back down to the ground. It all gets washed into the ocean. This is why fish is contaminated with heavy metals. It's because these metals end up in the ocean, and they end up everywhere, in our water, in our food supply, floating around in the air. So the question is, where are they coming from, what to watch out for, and what it would do in our bodies, right? So potential exposure to heavy metals would come from the air. So this would be actually indoor dust that's getting kicked back in from outside. And potentially if you have done some sort of remodeling in your home where there was maybe mercury or some sort of metal in paint and paint chips, that could be, re-exposed. For women, this is a big one, ladies, cosmetics. Any red lipstick, whether it's organic or not, because remember, organic cosmetics, they only have to be like 85% organic or something. So some of them that say, they'll say 98% organic. Well, that other 2%, if it's red lipstick, that could be from mercury. So mercury is a huge offender, as you guys know. They used to be in vaccines. This one was kind of shocking to me. They could potentially be present in multivitamins and herbal medicines that are not properly tested for purity. So a lot of times when you're shopping and you're thinking, oh, what a good deal on that vitamin that's only $5. Well, it's probably $5 for a reason. You're probably not getting a very good quality product. Okay. The number one place though that we get it is from water. And this is mostly going to be lead. And that contributes to about 20% of our daily exposure. Okay. We also can get it from food, especially from canned food, right? Or even foods that are growing in soil that contains heavy metals from rusted signage, vehicles, heavy farm equipment that's rusted on the farm, that kind of thing. Even if you guys think about it, cooking with aluminum foil, cooking on Teflon pans and all these metal things, this all has the potential to contaminate our food. Obviously vaccines, right? It's really funny when you're pregnant, they say, oh, you can't have any fish because you might get heavy metal toxicity. Yet when your baby comes out, we're allowed to inject you with the baby with 17 vaccines that have more heavy metals than are even safe for an adult, according to the FDA and the CDC and all those places. I think those are all the big ones for where we want to watch for them coming. Okay.
So
let's go back. Oh, go ahead. Yes.
no. So that's a lot of information. I was just absorbing it all. But I mean, that is scary stuff. That whatever you were talking about right now is like, I'm like, ouch. I mean, this is like everything. I mean, I don't think you mentioned something that is not used at all. I mean, everything, air, I mean, water, I mean, we can't live without them, right? Yeah. Vaccines, you're right. I mean, the babies from the get-go, we're getting shots, so this is like, I don't know how many people would have known this information. Probably they do. I don't know. I actually learning some of the stuff as well. Yeah. And I've done some research before the show and I was literally like, what's going on? I mean, I was familiar with mercury a little bit, definitely lead, paints and for the kids and the laws and stuff like that. Cause I used to do real estate, education. I teach, real estate. So therefore we had the courses, lead paint and all the stuff and the laws, but that's the extent of what I've known about it. Mercury, I definitely know about the fish and stuff. Right now you just have to have quantities that are very low and you can't overdo it with fish, right? But you're talking about, cosmetics and products that are used day to day. I mean, women, you can't, I'm sorry, but ladies, they always have to have lipstick. And unfortunately, you're right. If you don't pick the right one, you don't even know. And some lipsticks are like, very cheap. And so I'm sure they're going to be very heavy metal.
Exactly.
It is crazy.
Again, we are okay to get a little bit, right? We're okay to get and digest a little bit, get them through our system. But the problem is when it becomes overburdened, then we can't get it out. And, obviously if you grow up near a farm or near an aluminum plant or something, you have a lot bigger chance of getting to that toxic place sooner. But the reason I want to do this presentation is because I'm finding this in so many people. So I want to go back to the water piece because guys, this really is very important. So many people come in here and I'm like, what kind of water do you drink? They drink tap water. And there's this nice little lie going around in certain states. Like everyone thinks that, oh, Colorado, we have great water. We don't. It's full of fluoride and all kinds of crap. And really it depends by municipal, how it's filtered, how it gets to you, what those pipes are. Remember those kids, was it in Michigan that all got so sick and some died from the lead poisoning of the pipes?
I remember the story, but I don't remember if it's Michigan, but
yeah,
yes.
It was somewhere in the Northeast. But so the point is this, it doesn't matter where you are, you should have your water tested. You can do this, I think for under $100, send in a water sample. So do that. It's really sad that the government actually legally allows 15 parts per billion of lead in our water. That is unacceptable. It should be 0. Anything above 0 in your water is a serious concern. If you are consumed, because think of how much water we drink every day and you're showering in it. So what if I said, hi, would you like this water? It's only 0.00015% toxic. No, I would like no toxic water because you're drinking so much volume. So if your home is older, like the 70s and 80s, you might have a service pipe that's like fully made of lead. And even if you have a new home, there still might be lead in the municipal water supply somewhere down the line. So just get tested, right? First, we get aware. So when it goes into the bodies, and this is about lead specifically, lead is deposited and stored in our liver, our muscles, our kidneys, and our brain. Our bones also store lead, but as we age, it can kind of start to leak back out into our bloodstream and then re-expose it back to the central nervous system, causing you to get sick, maybe for the first time. So your body can store a certain amount, but then something, too much, and then all of a sudden it's leaking out and we have a problem. Once it's in our soft tissue, this is where we're going to start having issues. And the gut can also leach iron into the blood. So if you're eating it, not just water, but from food, this gets in the gut, leaks it out. Also, this is interesting. So blood metal levels can heighten your chance of a cardiovascular event. And then the body gets rid of about 70% in the urine and 30% comes out in bile, sweat, saliva, and breast milk. So I want to talk about pregnant moms. The average baby's umbilical cord has over 350 toxic ingredients that we're testing now. And actually that's a statistic from like 6 years ago. This includes metals, pesticides, toxic things in your baby. So I want women to understand that we detox into our baby. And when your baby comes out and you're breastfeeding, the breast is a major detoxification pathway. So you're detoxing into your breast milk, into your baby. So ladies, it is so important before you conceive that you do some serious cleansing. And I don't mean just like do a cleanse. I mean, for 2 years, you should be doing cleansing on and off, different programs, different things, maybe work with a practitioner for that, so that when the baby comes out, that there's as little toxins as possible. And then again, you're not putting more toxins through the breast milk. What else did I want to say about that? Great way to detox, by the way, is, and I think it's later in the presentation, but I was going to say the infrared saunas are great to get out metals and a bunch of other things. But
so Doc, I just want to just take a brief, dive into some of the stuff you mentioned.
okay.
Water. I mean, you're right. We can't live without it, and you can't keep buying it. Although a lot of people buy it, and there's filtration and stuff. But even there's a lot of speculation about what kind of water you really have. Triple osmosis, and I've heard all kind of words out there that make it sound like it's really the best water you can have. Alkaline versus not, and I've seen a lot of people, even on TikTok, they do these things and they compare stuff. And I'm not saying that's the source of truth, but the fact is, I mean, there's so much discussion about that and the quality. And you're right. A lot of homes are built, half a century ago, and definitely lead pipes are all over the place, and even copper pipes. I mean, they do oxidize too. So, that's another thing. But you can have a filter system, and you can see a filter gets literally like really cluttered quickly and darker, in no time because of all the stuff that's in there. So that's a big deal. But you're talking about some stuff that is part of our life. And now you mentioned lead. Obviously, that's a big one. We mentioned mercury. I think you mentioned what was the other one? We didn't talk about like other ones like zinc and some other. Are there any effects to those? And we'll talk about them. Hopefully, there's something about them. The statistics you've mentioned are almost like crazy, because I mean, 350 plus things in just the umbilical cord. I mean, that's a lot of stuff.
This is when babies come. We have so many babies being born with eczema now, and the doctor will say, "Oh, it's very common." That doesn't mean it's normal or healthy just because it's happening more often. And so poor moms don't really know where to turn when this happens, but that's just your baby is being born with an overburden of toxins on the liver, and it's expressing out the skin. So we can prevent this again by lots of cleansing, 2 years, all the way up until you want to conceive. So there's a lot of planning ahead.
So that's important, because you're talking about cleansing and detoxification, right? And so, I mean, obviously the liver needs also time to process. This is not the only thing that it's processing daily. You got everything else, right? And especially for older, for adults, I mean, if you're drinking, you're smoking, there's all kind of stuff that's actually affecting the liver. So your process is not going to be as 100% as, this is not a pure liver where it just processes. It's really bombarded with everything else. So that's something to consider. But then you're right. I mean, you're breastfeeding kids as a mom, that's everybody. I mean, we all had moms. No one is here that can claim that they had a mom somehow, right? And so we all had some level of that transmission to us, and also we were all in the womb, so that means we had also that same. And you're right. Then you come out, and then the next thing you have all these shots, vaccines. I wasn't even aware that actually there's that much of heavy metals in the vaccine. That's actually news, at least to me. So, but that's big news. I mean, it's crazy news. I mean, I know we have all these discussions about vaccines last couple of years, but no one is talking about the old vaccines that have been in play for many, many, many years, right? And we all had been exposed to them, everybody. I mean, there's nobody that's alive today that did not go through those vaccines, right?
I actually have some clients that were not ever vaccinated with anything. They are so healthy. They'll end up coming to me for something so tiny, like maybe they're like, oh, I wonder if I have a food allergy. But it's interesting, as I interview these people, they never get sick. They are never sick.
How did they manage? Where are they? What planet? I mean,
like as a kid, I never had strep. I never got sick. I was never having colds like all my friends. I don't get sick. I don't get the flu, blah, blah, blah. They were like, I got chicken pox. And then, that was because there was no vaccine for that. But it's so interesting. They seem to overall be a lot more healthy. And it makes sense. We're not messing with their immune system when they're born.
right. But where is somewhere where people can actually avoid that? I mean, you go to school, you got to have your vaccination cards. And, I mean, I don't know.
So there are a lot, if you're private schools, Christian schools, if you're in California, you're screwed. They just are the complete boss of your body out there. But there are a lot of options if you want to go private or
interesting. That's good. That's good to know. Because
what's the word I'm looking for? Like some
exemptions.
Yeah, or some states that take exemptions. So it is possible. It is harder. But, and I think with what's going on right now, people are starting to wake up to, wow, maybe vaccines are not the way to deal with the body and, to deal with ailments in the body, I should say.
I'm telling you, this show is probably going to go crazy because people are going to be like, that's what I was talking about. I mean, obviously the debate has been big with the pandemic and the vaccine for Corona, but really you're talking about all vaccines now. I mean,
all vaccines are not safe. There is no vaccine that is 100% safe and effective. It doesn't exist, but that's not the narrative that we're given, right? But when all you have to do is actually research some of these vaccines and things. And I mean, they have complete immunity from the law. So do you know why? Because they were getting sued so much before that they were going to go out of business. So they're like, the only way we can stay afloat is if we have immunity. And now they do. So now they can hurt whoever they want. And there's no consequence.
That is scary. And you're right. I mean, there was a lot of discussions, even in the onset of the pandemic and I guess the making of the vaccines, big discussion about, they had a full immunity on this trial, and that's the end of it. No one is going to get hurt and there's no punishment or disciplinary action that the pharmaceutical companies would have. That's a big deal. And I think that's part of the big debate out there. And you're right. There's also the discussion about stem cells and, there's all kind of stuff that's, I mean, we're talking just the heavy metal. There's more to it.
More to it. Yeah. So seeing Vaxxed is a good one with Del Bigtree. That will kind of show you, look, there is no such thing as a safe vaccine. This is kind of the data that they have. So that's a good one. And just to encourage any potential parents out there, or even someone that has a small child that you have vaccinated and you decide you don't want to continue to do that, it is your right to say no. And if enough people stand together, even in a public school, and say, you know what, we demand that we're not going to send our kids here unless you take off these medical restrictions. We have so much power and we outnumber the schools and the government and all these entities. It's just a matter of standing together. Truly.
I can see on social media, you're busy.
Oh, God. I try to behave myself on there anymore because I was getting censored.
Well, listen, I mean, but again, you come from a position of knowledge and that's a big deal, right? I mean, not everybody has the same access and information that you have. And even when you research, you got to know what you're looking for because there's so much stuff out there. Yeah,
definitely.
So.
Another thing on babies, I do not mean to scare everybody, by the way. I just want you to be aware. There are some baby formulas that have been found to be toxic with heavy metals. So I just really want to encourage moms to just be aware of what you're giving your child. Don't just be like, oh, look at this formula from Target. I'm going to give this to my baby. Look up the company. Find out, hey, do you guys have this formula third-party tested? Is it tested for heavy metals? Write the companies. I write companies all the time and ask them questions. I hear back within 72 hours usually. So
they see your name, they see the letter, like, okay, let's respond.
Exactly.
But
so do your research. Do your research, guys.
Doctor, that's a big deal. I mean, we're talking about formula right now. I mean, I think 90% of people these days don't actually have normal breastfeeding, and therefore they all, kind of Enfamil and all these brands out there. So
we get on formula, even if it's a little bit, or when mom's traveling or just needs extra something, so that's important to know if that company has had a third-party testing for heavy metals.
Are they better companies that are vetted out already that should be safe?
You know what? I don't know. I have not specifically looked at who's doing what or who's gotten caught. I know some people have gotten caught.
But that's good enough. I mean, people, at least now they're aware. I mean, they can just do the due diligence and look. I mean, you can ask, to your point. I mean, that's important. Again, listen, I cannot even think about it like that. That's actually happening and it's real and it's out there. But you're right. I mean, we eat. I mean, like for example, in the pandemic, there were so many. The rush for the food stores, right? The grocery stores, and everybody's getting canned food. That was like the biggest thing for safety. Like everybody wants to hoard those things and have them just because the world is going to end, right? And I mean, it was crazy. Right? It was like a scene from those zombie movies, right? But it was real. You see it in front of you. Forget the toilet paper and stuff. That's a different discussion. But really, I mean, people are taking like boxes of canned food, and obviously they have to consume them now. I mean, besides the salt, sodium, and all the stuff that's in there, they are in tin cans. I mean, those things, yeah, they can say they're stainless, whatever. I don't know. I mean, it's bad.
Yeah, it's bad. And we used to, as a society, I'm sorry, I'm having brain fog. Pickle our foods, right? So we would pickle everything to get us through the winter, and it would naturally ferment and I'll get all these amazing probiotics, and we had really strong immune systems. You can't even find real fermented pickles at the store. Whole Foods, and every time I go, all the grocery stores, all the natural ones, I'm talking Sprouts, Whole Foods, Vitamin Cottage, all of them, I have sat in the aisle, people probably think I'm crazy, pulling all the jars and reading all the ingredients of every single brand at every single store. They're all just cucumbers, salt, and vinegar. There's no natural fermentation happening. This is not healthy for you. You're just eating vinegar water. But we used to, before canning came along with the Industrial Revolution, we used to ferment our own foods and pickle everything in jars. And we were so much healthier. So not only are the cans toxic, but this whole thing of replacing the beautiful process of pickling with canning has just wreaked such havoc on our health, truly.
Wow. Yeah, that is,
Yeah,
that is scary. Well, again, I mean, that's why we are doing this. I mean, we want to at least, make people aware of the risks, and it's all up to the people to do what they have to do. Exactly. Well, I mean, it's their choice, right? I mean, they a lot of people sometimes don't want to know, unfortunately, because ignorance is a bliss, that kind of thing. So I don't want to know because if I know it's a problem, I always refer to the matrix, the blue pill and the red pill.
That's right. We have a choice, man. Ignorance is bliss. So I don't push my ideas on anybody, but I'm here for someone who is seeking. I'm here.
No, and that's appreciated. I mean, listen, there's a big movement towards the healthy and the plant-based and the natural, and it's always been there. I mean, it's not like it's been, out, but there's less, promotion of it. There's less industry that's pushing for it. I mean, now it's more than ever. And to your point, even with that, when you think about organic, or you think it's 100%, but you said it. I mean, there's levels of organic. It's not all 100%. And that's a tough one because it's like I give you an example. I mean, I think I mentioned the last time, we do have cosmetic. Well, now we'd have like like Moroccan oil products, and so those are 100%. I mean, it's just the oil, and it's really just But we do have like shampoo made for that, based on that. But it's natural. We can't say organic because there is actually other things in it that are not just argan oil, right? So and it is not the chemicals like the parabens and sulfates and stuff, but there's other things to make it at least foam, right? So people think that there's to have 100% everything organic, that's going to be tough. I mean, you have to live literally in nature.
Hard, actually.
That's big. So again, I mean, we almost derailed a little bit, but let's go back to the heavy metals.
Okay, I love it. Okay, so let's go over some symptoms of acute lead toxicity. So acute meaning not major exposure, but to the point where the body starts to be like, something's going on here, and starts to sound off the alarms a little bit. So you might experience anemia because lead actually interferes with your iron levels. So you might be depleted of iron. You would obviously, if you took a metal test, you would have elevated metals in your blood. It could be something as small as abdominal pain that's unexplained, just happening constantly, constipation, headaches, mood disorders, joint and tissue pain, learning disorders, brain swelling, dementia, confusion, and memory loss. And that's just at the beginning. Let's talk about what you might feel when you are chronically toxic with lead and heavy metals. Now we've moved into decreasing the libido, impotence, infertility, abdominal pain, weight loss, a change in bowel habits, muscle weakness and pain, fatigue, depression, irritability, anxiety, insomnia, headaches, bone pain, joint pain, neuropathy, and joint swelling. Now, you guys, if you have 2 of those things on that list, I don't want you to panic and be like, oh my God, I'm toxic with lead. It's just to be aware, and that if there are a lot of things on there, though, symptoms that match up with you, this might be something that you want to look at with your doctor or a practitioner. Get tested for lead, get tested for heavy metals, get your urine tested, get your blood tested, which is what I want to talk about next. So you work with a naturopath, you can work with a doctor, but if you guys just go to your primary care physician and say, hi, I think I'm toxic with heavy metals, will you test me? If they're cool, they might say yes. They might not make it easy for you, though, to do something like this. And even if they get the test back and it does show that you have heavy metals, the doctor's not going to know what to do. So if you do pick an MD or someone in the Western space, make sure you find someone that specializes in something called environmental toxicity. And there are lots of MDs that do. You can also go to a naturopath. But again, not all naturopaths are the same. Make sure if you pick a naturopath, hey, do you specialize in environmental toxicity, which would be heavy metals, mold infections, Lyme, things like that. So again, you're going to want to test your blood for lead and mercury levels. You can order your own metal blood tests, labs, actually, guys, if you want to write this down, at Ulta, ULTA labtests.com. You don't need a doctor. You can just go on, make an account, and order your own heavy metal panel. I think it's like $200. You can test your urine for broad spectrum heavy metals. And the reason we get both is because we want to see, is it more in the blood? Is the body flushing them? Where the levels are? It's important to get both, I think, to be thorough. And you can actually get your own heavy metal urine tests at accessmedicallabs.com. That's ACCESS medicallabs.com. One of the things that really agitates me about Western medicine is that they think that they can tell you if they're going to give you a test or not and whether they want to. No, this is your body. It is your blood. It is your urine. It is your saliva. You have a right to know what is in your body no matter what. And if you have a doctor that's giving you a hard time about running a test for you, I really have been encouraging people, write a review about that doctor. For some reason, we live in this industry this world where we're reviewing restaurants and stores and all these products. Review your doctor. If you have an amazing doctor that you feel like has been really good to you and helped you out with your things and do what you want, 5 stars. But if you guys won't believe the horror stories I hear in here, doctors refusing to give people tests, doctors, sometimes very rare, but I will have to refer someone out to a doctor and I'll say, listen, I need your doctor to prescribe a certain drug, or I need you to go get IVs, something certain. And sometimes they'll come back, oh, my doctor won't do it. This just blows my mind. And they're like, well, what do I do? And I say, tell your doctor, it's really unfortunate that you're not wanting to help my situation. I will be writing a review about you and your practice and finding somebody else. And that's that. Find a doctor, you guys, that wants to help you on your health journey. I'm not a licensed MD, but if you came to me and said, hey, Diana, I want to test my heavy metals, I'd be like, yeah, let's do it. Let's see what's going on in there. If you don't have a doctor that wants to work like that for you, fire them, get a new one. If you have insurance, you have thousands to choose from. So I know it's a process, but it's important. If you guys don't have someone that you like to work with, fire them. Okay, I'm off my soapbox. Thank you. Okay, let's talk about how to detox from heavy metals. So chelation IVs would be a really good option, and it usually takes about 9 to 10 of these IVs, and it literally binds to the metals and gets them out of the body. You would want to go to an IV clinic for this. They will run labs. They will administer IVs until your labs come clean. This would probably be more in a pretty chronic toxic situation where there's a lot of metals and we need to get them out quickly. But some easy things you could do are infrared saunas that I mentioned earlier. You can do these at home 3 times a week is great. You can do homeopathic or herbal heavy metal detoxes. I'm sure you can Google heavy metal detox. You can get things on Amazon. You can look at reviews. You can work with a practitioner. You have lots of options. And then the big one is we want to stop the exposure, especially if it's coming from water. So if your water does come up with heavy metals, we really want to get a water filtration system. You can get a whole home system like Aquasana or Pure Effect. You can have an at-sink filtration system. The sky is the limit for what everyone's always like, well, what do you recommend? Well, it depends. Do you have something under the sink that can have a spout up coming through the counter? Do you not have room on the counter? Do you want something counter to, it just depends on your budget and how it can fit onto your actual plumbing system. But there's lots of options. You also want a shower and bath filtration system. Oh, and by the way, people that think that they're drinking fridge water, yes, it's a little better than tap water, but a fridge filter is like this big. And then all the tubes are plastic in the fridge. It's just not enough. You really need something that has like a triple barrel filtration system that's either under the sink with a pipe coming up or sitting on the top. Something more than just that little guy. It's just not enough.
Doc, I was just going to ask you about that, but you beat me to it. One thing I wanted to ask on that subject. So,
I like to go fast.
No, it's okay. The filtration. So some people, like, for example, they do have water deliveries, like the Poland Spring and all those things. And they have these filtration systems that the little coolers, and they have their own filters. And also the water is supposed to be filtered and, kind of better, and really going through multiple levels of filtration system. So do you recommend those? Are those really, as accurate as, we are meant to
Great question. If you're getting your water delivered, I want you guys to start getting in the habit of thinking this through. If someone's telling you they're going to bring you water, whether it's filtered or from a spring, you need to interview this company and say, hi, where are you getting your water? Cool. What are you testing it for? Can you show me the results of these tests? How often are you testing it? How old are these? A good water company will say, yes, ma'am, we test it once a quarter. Let me send that right over, because they know it's a sales tool. If you are getting your water delivered, I would like it to either be in glass or a BPA-free plastic. I mean, even Costco is delivering water now for like $30 a month. But again, what's the source? Check the source, get the data to be sure. If you do, what's cool about the whole house filtration systems is that you can call that company and say, this is my zip code. And they'll say, like where I live, they said, oh, there's a lot of arsenic in your water there. So we recommend this certain kind of filter addition, and that needs to be changed every 6 months, 9 months, whatever. We send you a reminder every 8 months. We auto bill you a filter, whatever. Okay. They have all kinds of ways to sell you things, but, and again, I ask them, oh, can you guys show me some examples, some water tests and whatever? And you know what, you guys? You can also test it. Don't believe everything that they say. If Costa wants to deliver you water, have it tested, just like you had your sink water tested. This stuff is fascinating. I have some people that are so obsessed with this. They test all the waters. I mean, like all the bottled waters. Mm-hmm. So they'll test like Smart Water and Aqua, whatever, Dasani, all the ones. It's really kind of disgusting what's in bottled water, to be honest.
Well, I've seen some of those as well, like some of those comparison. I mean, I was always wondering if they were real, but I mean, first of all, whatever you're saying right now is like, I'm like literally in shock. I mean, because guilty as charged here, because I do have actually delivery of water, and it's supposed to be this spring water that's cool, and it's it goes through the cooler or whatever. But now you're making me think it twice.
It probably would only take you 2 minutes to look on their website, and it's there somewhere. But if you might have to call. Really, you guys, it sucks because it just does take more time that we have to play detectives. Yeah. We can't just trust anybody. But even in spring water can be contaminated. We don't know what it's getting stored in when it's brought out of the spring and what they're doing. So. Yes, have it tested. And there's all kinds of other stuff we have to worry about in water. BPA, arsenic, chlorine, bromide, fluoride, DDT, pesticides. So get it delivered, filter it from in your house. This is very important.
Doctor,
Very
you give me a headache with that list right now. I feel pain. That's a lot of stuff to look for. I mean, and it's all available, and it's all actually something we consume.
all
And I mean, it's
available.
really crazy.
All available. And people like to say, oh, sometimes they'll say, oh, it's so expensive. You know what? A whole house water filtration system, yeah, it can be $5,000. Not everybody can afford that, and that's okay. You don't have to do that. But if you can get water delivered for $30 a month, if you are budget restricted, there has to be somewhere else in your life that you can get rid of $30. Like maybe don't go to Starbucks a few times, in the month. It's not an expense, it's an investment. And it's a really important one because over time, all this chemical exposure, it's so bad. I mean, it's so bad in lots of other areas, but it sterilizes the gut and the small intestine. So we don't have good microbiome, which also helps us to detox heavy metals and chemical exposures. So these chemicals and metals damage our body's ability to get rid of them.
Wow. It's like counterproductive, right? You put in them and they just turn. Well, so let me ask you, what about those, the pitchers that, they sell with those filters that are like portable filters that you can, put, are those any good?
I want you guys to think, do you mean like a countertop?
Like the Brita and, those, some of those brands.
Again, better than nothing, but look at the size. What is the size of the filter in the Brita?
Yeah.
A little tiny baby filter, just like this, just like the fridge filters, just like this. It's simply not enough. But if you're really curious, what can you do? Test the water. Test your water that's coming from the tap, and then test it after it's been through the Brita if you really want to know. So you can always, if we're not sure, test.
I love it. I mean, and it's a simple thing, but we just don't think about it because we trust the process.
Exactly. Too much trust.
Yeah, listen, like I said, guilty as charged here because I believe well, I don't use the tap water. I don't do this. I actually got the filter and all the stuff, assuming it's a good thing. But I'm at least now we're talking about the States. We might be lucky because in parts of the world, this is not even an option. I mean, everything they have is lead-based and there's not even a choice for them.
But also, unfortunately, in the United States, we're fluorinating our water here or fluoridating it. So that's another sad situation.
Yeah, well, you did mention a whole list of things that are added into those waters, and chloride, fluoride, you name it, a lot of ides.
Just the heavy metals, and the heavy metals are a little easier to filter out because they're tiny particles. But stuff like chlorine and fluoride, it's liquid. It's hard to get it out of the water. So it takes a little more of a specific system that's really tailored for that.
Oh boy, that is scary. And you talked about the different impact to our bodies, and you mentioned a whole list of things that diagnoses that can be related to those heavy metals. And the one thing that I was curious about is that for the most part we always refer to lead as the problem for the children, and in nowhere there's a discussion that how it impacts also older folks and adults, right? And that's a challenge that I did not even pay attention to before, because now it's like in my mind, like you think lead paint and lead, it's really kids and affects the development of children, but when you think about the impact even in the adult level, it's a nightmare.
Yeah. And I mean, a lot of people, you might even know someone where they're like, man, I just don't know what's wrong with me. I've been to every doctor. I've been to all these practitioners. I don't know what's going on. They just have all these weird symptoms. And it's usually some sort of toxicity that wouldn't be normally run on a lab test, like a heavy metal panel. That is not something that a doctor would normally run at your physical every year. It's obscene that wouldn't automatically be run every year, considering the amount of heavy metals that we're all exposed to. But that's Western medicine for you.
Well, doctor, I appreciate the clarity on that, because I think also you mentioned something very nice earlier that there are doctors that are willing to do it, and you can ask them and nicely. And if they refuse, I mean, we have choices. I mean, to your point, everybody that has insurance has a network of providers that they can select from, and you just pick the right one, hopefully. But also, I think for the doctors, they should be, obviously more available to do this. I mean, they'll ask for an MRI and everything else. I mean, this is just as important, if not more important, because this is like your body's functions are actually being affected. I mean, talking about kidneys and liver. I mean, that's organ failure eventually. That's not cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
Definitely.
So doctor, what else? I know we're coming up, on the time clock here. What else do we have to?
All I had for you today, but it sounds like I definitely sparked some curiosity and some concern in you, which is good. And hopefully that, reaches your listeners as well. Again, I'm not trying to scare at anyone, but we need to be aware to really live well and healthy and make it to a ripe old age without 1,000 problems. We have got to be aware of what we're breathing, what we're eating, what we're drinking, how to recognize it, how to get it out.
Doctor, it's a great advice. And by the way, you're right. I mean, I am literally like, my eyes are wide open and I'm like, literally like, these are things that, I personally I took for granted a lot of the stuff that you mentioned, and we just don't pay attention. Some of it I'm aware of. I mean, obviously that's why I don't do cans and things like that. But even when you try, you think you're doing your best, you're not. And that's the problem, because you don't know what else that you need to be doing. And I think everybody who's watching and listening, this is just an opportunity for you to readjust and maybe revisit your approach to your water and environment. So thank you.
And just start small. Just start with a water test, one thing at a time. Or like you're saying, and that's a major one I forgot, drinking out of cans. Just think, I'm not going to drink out of cans, and maybe I'm not going to use aluminum foil. Get the water tested, start small,
We'll take that for what it's worth. And, listen, folks, I mean, this is great advice, and your health, again, is your wealth. Make sure that you take care of it no matter what. I mean, no one's going to do it for you, right? Well, thank you. I mean, first of all, obviously it's important to have folks like you who do this, who specialize in this. And I know you're a complement, a force to our health. I mean, that's important. And again, before a couple of shows ago, I didn't even know that there are specialties that do this and people that are available in this level of medicine that actually can help, and the more I've been exposed to the shows and the guests right now, I've learned a lot more about the whole naturopathic, approach. And that's a big deal. I mean, it's a great thing. And I think our audiences are also being exposed to it now more than ever. And there is a way out to better health. And I encourage everybody to listen. Also to check out Diana's, site. And if you're in the area, and I know you do some work remotely, I guess, and you help people.
If anyone wants to see me in person, I'm in Lone Tree, Colorado, which is a little bit south of Denver. I also do virtual stuff all over the country. So, and I can run labs to anybody anywhere. So if anyone needs help with anything, you can reach me at dmdnaturalmedicine.com.
Thank you. And that will be also on the show's descriptions. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
And I think also for our audiences, would you be open to folks in Canada, let's say, in other parts of the world? Is that something that you, I'm just asking, I don't know.
I will help anybody anywhere. I can give, I can listen to your situation. Can I run labs on someone in Canada? No. Or someone, but I can definitely make recommendations that they can take to somebody local. So yes. And I actually do complimentary 15-minute phone consultations before I even take anybody, so that we can kind of talk about your case, where you're located, so I can make sure if I'm, equipped to handle your case or not. It's very rare that I turn somebody down, but I'm definitely open to helping anybody anywhere for sure.
Well, thank you, doctor, for that. And hopefully people can take, advantage of this and reach out to you. And, listen, I think everybody owes it to themselves to find out what's going on.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, doctor, for being with us again. And hopefully we'll do a different one for a different topic in the near future. I mean, I know you have you're a wealth of knowledge and resources for us here, so we'll take it. Folks, thank you for being with us, for watching, and hopefully this was a learning, show and guidance as well for your health. And we'll be talking soon. Different guests, different show, different topic. We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.